But our first guest speaker now for the whakahoku session, Julie Deslippe. Talk title is Bioprotection Aotearoa, Research to Restore and Protect. Julie is an RSNZ Rutherford Discovery Fellow and Senior Lecturer in Plant Ecology at Victoria University of Wellington. Her research spans productive and native ecosystems and alpine to wetland habitats, focusing on the complex plant-soil systems that sustain life on Earth. Julie co-leads PO 1 of Bioprotection Aotearoa, where her team explores how to restore wetland forests faced with emerging pathogens. No reira, e mihi ana ki a koe, nau mai, whakapiki mai, tēnei kai kōrero, e whai a tēnei Julie Deslippe. Home.
Tēnā katoa, ngā mihi o te ahi ahi. Ki pukenga matua, e te kura, mataranga ko oera au o te haringa waka, ko Julie Deslippe, tako ingoa, tēnā koutou katoa. My name is Julie Deslippe, as Stacey just so kindly said, and I'm from Victoria University of Wellington in Wellington. And I'm here today, not in that capacity, but to represent Bioprotection Aotearoa. I didn't expect to be here in this capacity, but somebody had an accident. So if you have any questions about my talk, I'm not going to take them. I'm going to defer you to Amanda Black. Unlike all of the talks we've heard today, which showed you exciting science and really neat figures and results and data, I'm going to talk about people and try and address some of the things that I've heard from this group about a systemic lack when it comes to really important problems facing our ngāhere. So we lack a capacity to sustain excellence and sustain people with the skills we need to fix these problems, and that's where Bioprotection Aotearoa sits. Our job is to fill that need. So Bioprotection Aotearoa is a national center for research excellence, a core, and it's hosted at Lincoln University. And cores in this country are funded through the Ministry of Education. So they're the people who pay for our universities and our polytechs and help us train a generation of scientists. That's really loud. I'm not the quiet speaker. So we've been funded now till 2028. And our role is to train scientists to tackle these problems. So our kaupapa is guided by Te Ao Māori values, and we train a generation of people who have these values, are guided themselves by these values, or whose work aligns with these values. We're doing this within New Zealand, so with hapu and iwi across the country, but also in the context of the wider Pacific. So our role from Aotearoa, but also outward looking to our friends and neighbors abroad. Te Titiri is kind of the heart of what we do. We try to be a responsive partner to the treaty, and we have implemented a partnership model from our strategic advisory board level and the executive team right down to kind of everything we do at the PO level, the scientists where I operate, for example. And so we're trying to fund standalone programs led by Indigenous researchers and to work directly with communities so that the research that we produce is built within the capacity to implement it directly. So this is our leadership team. That's Amanda Black, our director. And we also have three co-directors, or deputy directors. So we have Peter Dearden from the University of Otago, Phil Hume at Lincoln University, and Nick Ruskridge at Massey University. And they support Amanda and Miss Mahi. And we're a big group, and that's part of the reason I'm not going to talk science, is because there's so many of us. We're about 130 people. 8 universities and CRIs across the country, sorry, that's more than 8, that's 11 universities and CRIs across the country. And we have 42 early career researchers, of which 11 are postdoctoral fellows and about 19 are postgraduate students who are funded by the core. But there are also lots of aligned projects, so students who might have their funding from other sources, but also whose activities are part of the core. down at our Noku Marae in November of this year in community, and that was a really fun experience for our early career researchers. Talked about their mahi and from all over the country. So I'll tell you a little bit about them in a minute. But first I'm going to talk about our research framework. So this is our Te Tau Areni. It's based, as Stacey said, we have different posts or pillars. I'm in Po 1. And so we've kind of structured it so that, that we reflect kind of the bits and pieces we need to know. So we need to know what makes ecosystems healthy. You know, that's not the absence of disease and pathogens. That's what makes all those connections in the Ngāi function. We want new technologies to defend against new incursions when they occur. And we also want to think about the future, so future-proofing forests to be more resilient to these emergent diseases and threats. So designing landscapes to be more resilient to emerging threats, like incursions of disease, but also things like climate change. Okay, we use a lot of the techniques and tools that we've spoken about today already. So, you know, we use the tools of ecology and microbiology, biochemistry, but also more social sciences, things like economics, indigenous Mataranga Maori research happens, and also Pacifica knowledge. And these go across all of these scales, from genes and molecules right up to communities, ecosystems, and landscapes. Several of our programs are Indigenous-led, so these are some of our wonderful Maori scientists, who are some of whom are sitting in this room. So Nick Rossridge's group at Massey I mentioned already, but also Aotearoa Mead is leading some work on the use of Indigenous Tonga for the core. Nick Waipara does important work in plant protection and plant health. Amanda herself, soil health. Hanarea does work on Māori Tawaki. She's looking at the diversity of the microbiome in that species, which really complements the work that Colin just spoke about, the genetics of the plant host itself. We work on native orchids, and Simon's work is on native orchids and how they are related. Oh, I'm going to run out of time, I've got to hurry. And Terry works on fungi, on the Mataranga fungi. We work right across the country, but we also have kind of 3 areas of geographic focus: Te Kaha, the Wairarapa, and Horonako on the South Island. So I'll just briefly highlight a few of those projects. So I'll talk about the Wairarapa. So this is a work stream that I lead, looking at how to restore lowland swamp forests. So swamps are treed wetlands that used to be very, very extensive across the Motu, but they have been reduced through land clearing, particularly for agriculture in this region. And we're really interested in how to bring these swamp forests back so that they can support diverse species. These are some of the amazing people I work with. You just met Colin, but Pearl Rooston is working on nitrogen in these systems and how wetlands can help filter our water. Bianca is working, she's a hydrologist, working on how the water will flow through the landscape. Ilya is working on succession in these forests. Tere, I mentioned already, is working on fungi, and Sarah is working on how to make restoration sites that will be more resilient to myrtle rust outbreak. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Moving down to Horomako now, pardon me. We have a group there looking at the Māori of Kānika shrublands in particular, and kind of their resilience to weed incursions. And people down there include John and Lori Lynn and Alexa, working on weeds, soil health, and forest health in these young stages, ecosystems that are restoring to mature forests. I'm just speeding along right now. And finally, Te Kaha. This work is focused mostly on productive soils across production systems and also native ecosystems. So looking at kiwi fruit production. I got to run out of time. And the beautiful people here are Polina and Finn and Nicola and Alana, and they're working on such diverse things as using spiders for biocontrol in kiwi plantations, and looking at viruses of kiwi fruit and that sort of thing. So very diverse projects, again. That's all I have to say. I've been red carded, so I will get off the stage. Kia ora.